Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, dear organizers, allow me first to express my heartfelt thanks to the organizers of this conference for the warm hospitality and, of course, for the invitation to represent the martyr village of Distomo here in Lidice. In our archives, we hold an issue of the Greek magazine Δρόμοι της Ειρήνης, meaning Roads of Peace, published in June 1962. His front page reads, Lidice, June 10, 1942, Distomo, June 10, 1944, twin villages. According to oral testimonies, that very magazine was distributed by a delegation of the embassy of former Czechoslovakia during a visit to Distomo during the 60s decade. The symbolic twinning of our two villages had already been echoed in international publications, including English and American newspapers. These articles often described Distomo and Lidice as villages that speak the same language of pain, united by a common history of violence and remembrance. Distomo is a small town in central Greece, on the slopes of the mountain Parnassus. According to the 1940 national census, the population of Distomo was almost 1,600 residents, organized in almost 400 families with an average of 5 members each. The town held regional importance, housing several public institutions, including a Justice of the Peace Court, an agriculture office, a post and telegraph office, and of course, a primary school. During the interwar period, Greece was recovering from a decade of wars, the Balkan Wars, World War I, and the Asia Minor catastrophe. Distomo, like many other towns, had lost men in these conflicts. Life in the town was shaped by agricultural and pastoral activities. Vineyards and olive cultivation were common, along with cereal farming and the raising of goats and sheep in the surrounding mountains. It's a very mountainous region. Women played a crucial economic role through domestic textile production, especially weaving woolen carpets and blankets on home looms, which were sold in local markets. The social structure was patriarchal, following the norms of Mediterranean honor and shame cultures, with women largely confined to the private sphere. Let me show you some images from the pre-war Distomo. Here is the well in the central square, the well with 2 mouths. That means Distomo, a town with 2 mouths. Two mouths of the well. This is the pupils at the school. And this is the monument where the people in Distomo mourning their relatives who has been killed during the World War I. Also, there was a certain sense of identity rooted in labor, land, and kinship. Kinship is very important in our Mediterranean culture. Through their everyday life and work, the people of Distomo built a resilient, self-sustaining society, one that will later be shattered but not erased by the brutal events of 1944. You can see also the orchestra. You can see that is their only men. Women are closed inside their homes. On June 10, 1944, a brutal attack was launched by the German Waffen-SS on Distomo. This assault, carried out by the 2nd Company of the 4th SS Polizei Panzergrenadier Division, was part of a series of reprisals against civilian population for the resistance activities of Greek people. Following an attack on a German convoy near the village, the SS forces began a savage assault on the unarmed inhabitants of Distomo. This is the Lieutenant Fritz Lautenbach who ordered the massacre. For over 2 hours, the soldiers went door to door, killing anyone in their path, including women, children, and the elderly. Accounts describe the soldiers as looting, raping, and murdering civilians without mercy. They beheaded the village priest, mutilated the bodies of the victims. One of the survivors of this massacre, Panagoula Skouta, I remember her very well because she passed away during the COVID pandemic. Vividly remembers the horrific sight of her father trying to protect his family when they were approached by German soldiers. Panagoula said he raised his arms in a friendly gesture, her father, but the German soldier opened fire, killing him instantly. Panagoula were left in a sea in a cream of blood and wine. The massacre resulted in the deaths of 223 innocent civilians, including 117 women and 53 children under the age of 16. The German soldiers left the village in ruins, with homes burned and bodies mutilated in the most brutal ways. Children were bayoneted in their cribs, pregnant women were stabbed, and entire families were slaughtered in their homes. My families are among the survivors, my mother's and my father's family also. The Red Cross, this is a photograph of the international Red Cross. The Red Cross team that arrived in Distomo shortly, 10 days after the massacre, described the scene as a landscape of horror with bodies hanging from trees and scattered across the village streets. They also killed all the animals. The entire community was in shock, grappling with the realization that nearly every family had lost someone in the brutal attack. This tragic event shattered the social and familiar fabric of Distomo, leaving deep scars that will take generations to heal. The grief that engulfed Distomo was palpable, as the entire village was immersed in mourning. The loss of so many innocent lives created an atmosphere of despair, and the survivors were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered world. It was reported that for years after the massacre, no child was allowed to laugh or sing or even eat sweets because of the mourning. And young girls dressed in mourning attire, their heads covered in black veils, as you can see in that photo. There are no household that had not lost someone. Every building bore a black plaque you can see this plaque with the names of the executed, marking the extent of the loss. I remember my father told me that she was ready to read she was learned to read by this plaque. This is my father's book. In the village square, there was not a single house without such a sorrowful plaque. And here you can see the woman, the symbol of Distomo, one of the women survivors. And today in Greece, that image of woman, Maria Pantiska, I remember her very well. She was a friend of my grandmother. That picture is a symbol of the World War II trauma of Greece. Many visitors and many Greek people thought that this is Greece. This is Greece during the German occupation. The massacre in Distomo remains an unpunished crime, and the residents of Distomo began legal proceedings seeking reparation from Germany. The long-standing legal battle is internationally known as the Distomo case. Distomo case is a legal case. Began in the 90s under the leadership of a Greek lawyer, Ioannis Stamoulis. In 1997, the Livadia court ruled that approximately 23 million euros should be paid in damages for metal suffering, with the possibility of seizing German assets in Greece. Despite German protests and appeals, the Greek Supreme Court ruled in 2000 that the case should proceed. Since then, the battle for reparation has continued at the international level, supported by the Hellenic Republic and international organizations, and of course by the relatives of the victims. And you can see here in this photo the mayor of Distomo at the middle of the photo, and you can see also friends from Germany who are at the same page with that activist from Germany. On the hill of Canales is the name of the hill, overlooking the town of Distomo, stands the mausoleum, a stark, solemn monument dedicated to the 223 victims of the massacre. The monument was inaugurated in 1978. This site has become the heart of the community's commemorative events and a symbol of both remembrance and resistance. Its architectural form is minimal yet evocative. You can see 3 marble slabs, 1 vertical and 2 horizontals, frame the ossuary in the cubic structure. You can see also some other photos, and of course you can see a frieze carved in low relief unfolds the story of the massacre, while the engraved names of the victims on an adjoining stub serve as a lasting testament to their lives. You can see also a woman survivor who lost her entire family in that day. A pivotal moment in the history of memory in Distomo was the ceremonial transfer of the victims' bones to the mausoleum, to the ossuary, in 1978. Though I was very young at that time, I was just 4 years old, the memory of that day remains vivid. I will never forget that day. The procession, the solemnity, the weeping, the reverence, it imprinted itself on me. It was not a merely symbolic gesture. In the Orthodox Christian tradition, bones are sacred. They connect the living and the dead, and they are central to the practice of memorialization. The relocation of the remains to the mausoleum transformed the monument into a truly sacred space, a site not just of memory, but of presence. The victims are not simply remembered here, inside the ossuary. They are here, and of course, they are our origins. It's the origins of our collective identity. Cultural memory is not only about the transmission of information, but also about the embodiment of values through ritual, symbol, and material form. In Distomo, the bones, these fragile remains of a shattered world, of a crime against humanity, which trauma is function as anchor of memory, as the very material through which trauma is ritually processed and reintegrated into the cultural self-understanding of our community. Around them, memory communities are continually reformed. Families, survivors, descendants, citizens, visitors, researchers, activists, all gathered in a ritual of collective learning and meaning-making. Beyond the formal ceremony of June 10, the memory of the massacre is also cultivated through a rich program of multi-day commemorative events organized annually by the municipality of Distomo, in collaboration with a local association and community groups. These events span several days in early June and offer a mosaic of cultural expressions that extend and deepen the work of memory. The program typically includes musical performance, theatrical plays, folk dance presentation, film screening, sports activities, book launches and lectures, all dedicated to the themes of memory, human dignity and peace. These cultural moments, while diverse in form, share a common purpose: to animate the past through the creativity of the present and to transmit the community's values and experience to younger generation. You can see some images of the commemorative events. You can see that even the mayor wore a black shirt. And here is a musical night that is dedicated to Distomo and to Lidice also. The establishment of the museum. The Museum for the Victims of the Massacre in Distomo was officially inaugurated in 2000, over half a century after the atrocity, as part of the community's ongoing commitment to remembrance, truth-telling and historical education. Housed in a modest yet solemn building near the mausoleum, the museum serves as a space for documentation, testimony and reflection. Its foundation marked a turning point in the memorial landscape of Distomo, bridging the gap between live trauma and public history. The museum was established not only to preserve the memory of the massacre, but also to collect, archive and present evidence that could support the long and difficult pursuit of justice. It contains a powerful collection of personal objects, documents, photographs, and of course testimonies, oral testimonies, both written and audiovisual, that chronicle the life of the village before, during, and after the massacre. Amongst its most moving exhibits are items that belonging to the victims, torn garments, school notebooks with incomplete lessons, and everyday household tools left behind in the chaos. The museum also displays detailed documentation of the Nazi atrocity, including forensic reports, Red Cross observation, and of course legal records from the various from the case of Distomo. More than just a commemorative site, the museum has become a moral archive, a place where history is confronted directly and ethically, and where local memory enters into dialogue with broader global discourse on genocide, human rights, and post-war justice. Its educational mission, particularly considering the upcoming major redesign of its permanent exhibition, places special emphasis on engaged children and young people as active participants in remembrance. The goal is not only to inform, but to cultivate responsible citizenship, to empower the younger generation to defend democracy, uphold human rights, and reject the forces of hatred, racism, and exclusion. Educational programs will be guided by key principles such as critical thinking, historical empathy, and civic engagement. Through workshops, guide tours, and interactive resources, the museum aims to build resilience among youth against the rise of far-right extremists and, of course, of new Nazi ideologies. Memory in this context becomes not a passive inheritance, but an active stance, a form of resistance, a foundation for democratic vigilance, and a call to safeguard the dignity of all human beings. The story of Distomo is not just a chapter in Greek history. It is a part of a shared European and global legacy. Like Lidice, Distomo stands as a symbol of what can happen when fascism, hatred, and totalitarian violence are allowed to flourish. But both villages also remind us of something else, the resilience of communities, the power of remembrance, and of course the possibility of transforming grief into moral commitment. Thank you very much.